What's up, everybody? My name's Andrew. Welcome to the Andrew Roman Show. I'm glad you tuned in. If you're watching, you're listening, thank you for being part of this. I'm really excited. So today, I got a little story for you. This is a very unique, exclusive story you'll never hear anywhere else. I'm just kidding. No, but it's really a neat story. A really good friend of mine shared this with me. He said he was one day in class, and as the bell was about to ring, he was with his classmates. And they noticed that the professor was just kind of staring at them, not looking at his books, not looking at his notes, but just staring at all the students. And then one student realized that the professor was actually starting to tear up. Have you ever seen anybody tear up? Okay, when I tear up, if you're listening, you can't see this, but I'm trying to tear up right now in front of the camera. It's a lot of pressure. You know what? We'll move on to the story. I ain't got that much skill. So the professor was about to tear up, and the student asked him, "Hey, professor, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are you sad? Is something wrong?" And he said, "No, it's actually quite the opposite. It's not that something's wrong. It's just it gives me so much joy watching you all plan your days." He said, like you just said, you said that you were gonna do this tomorrow, or you were gonna go pick your friend up in the next week, and he said, "That's amazing." And he shared with them that he was actually a veteran. And in his time of war, they would joke. This blew my mind. They would joke about just even having and planning a minute ahead. I mean, that was a joke. Usually they would ask themselves a favor and, "Hey, could you do this for me?" "Yeah, I'll do it in a minute." Because that's how much they were maybe not even guaranteed life for a minute. And you and I planned for this episode. I planned for this show like a week ago, and everything. I could do that, somewhat having the guarantee that the day would come. I would come to the studio, record, and everything. Maybe you've planned your day and everything, and we never think twice about what a privilege it is and what a gift it is to actually have the safety to do that. And that got me thinking. What are the things that we take for granted? And I think there are three things today I wanted to share with you, and three things that we should all be grateful for. And that's about gratitude. Remember, boys, gratitude is an attitude. Okay, that sounded really cheesy, but that's true. It's cheesy, but gratitude is an attitude. So today we're going to get our attitude in the gratitude. All right, now I'm confused. Let's just move on. There are three things. One, and all these three things have to do with our nation. So if you're an American, even if you're not an American, but you live in America, it is such a blessing, this nation. And there are three things. It's called security, democracy, and liberty. Those are the three things that I want to talk to you about today. Security, democracy, and liberty. They're very unique to America. It's not only to America, but it's very special to this country. And starting with our security, and you see, in our recent years, I mean, for many years, but at least in our culture today, there's a narrative right now going against all the agencies that provide us security, like our military and our police force. I mean, look, preparing for this episode, I just looked up. I tried to get some statistics for you, and I looked up how many crimes were stopped by police. Did you know what came up? Nothing came up that I actually wanted. I had to scroll all the way down to get any results of any statistics. Here's a little bit of the headlines that came up when I Googled it. It said this: police stops still marred by racial discrimination. Race and police shootings. American police shoot this and this. I mean, I had to scroll, like I said, all the way down for me to get any result whatsoever. That's not good. I didn't even Google anything about racism, anything. I asked how many police did their job, and instead, you're seeing all this about the negatives towards the police. Now, we're going to talk a little bit of a couple things, and I hope you're still listening, because I know these can be somewhat controversial, but they shouldn't be controversial. It's common sense. It's the same with our military. Instead of the military or the police force or whoever and everyone that protects us, instead of them being seen as people that keep us safe, they're being painted and portrayed as organizations and agencies that, instead of keeping us safe, they're institutions of racism. Their institutional racism exists. Okay. All right. let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the idea, because there's an idea, blue lives do matter, black lives matter, every life matters, okay? But there's the idea right now that police, and people are saying that police are pigs and they're racist, they're all racist, police are racist. Okay, that is extremely false. Just like if you said every human being is racist. Just because you've seen a couple and many racist human beings, that doesn't mean every human being is racist. In the study of logic, that's called the fallacy of composition. So let's break it down. I had to study hard for this episode. I feel real smart. So let's break this down, the fallacy of composition. So let us suppose that you are holding a foot of an elephant. Please do not ask how, but let's just suppose you're holding a foot of an elephant detached from the whole body. In that picture, you say, hey, you know what? The foot is quite light. Therefore, the elephant is light. Okay, that's a fallacy. Just because the foot by itself was light doesn't mean the whole elephant is light. It's the same thing. Just because there are many racist cops out there doesn't mean the whole institution is racist. That's a fallacy composition. And what's interesting is we don't do that really for anything else. You see, a lot of time there has been a lot of acts of terrorism in the name of Islam, in the name of other religions as well. It's not just uniquely to Islam, but there's a lot of people who claim Islam as their source of why they did the terrorist act. And we'll have another episode about that, whether Islam has anything to do with it. Is it religion piece? Is it not? We'll talk about that in another episode. But specifically to this, we're told that if we see a terrorist in the name of Islam, that it is not right to therefore call every Muslim a terrorist. I agree with you. Just because there's one Muslim who was a terrorist doesn't mean every Muslim is a terrorist. So why, when one military member does something bad, or when there are many racist cops, why do we jump to the conclusion that all cops are racist? That goes for anything. Just because your neighbor might be evil doesn't mean you're evil or I'm evil. Just because we're all humans, that's a fallacy of composition. I really encourage you just think about your own presuppositions or your own assumptions. And if you disagree with me and you think all cops are racist, I hope this challenges you to see your logic, see if it's even reasonable. And if you've never thought about it, now you know a little bit. The truth is our police and our military do a great job. They really do. And if you don't believe me, go live in the country where they don't have our military and they don't have our police. I come from Mexico. And yes, I was younger when I lived in Mexico, but you can ask my dad and all my older brother. Whenever there's a police that's actually corrupted, like from the inside, now this is different from a couple individuals being racist, and that should be dealt with, by the way. That should absolutely be dealt with and not tolerated. But when your actual institution of the police is racist, but it's corrupted, you can't trust anybody. It's horrible. So it surprises me that so many of the people in our culture that say, and there's a lot of celebrities also that say that, it's just, I don't know. I don't even understand why. Like, travel. Open your eyes a little bit. Go around the world and travel. Just travel and notice that actually our police is amazing. They do their job. They're not perfect, but we're grateful. And look, we're not entitled to such an amazing, to the privilege of being protected so well. It's something that we should be grateful for. That was the first one. So security. If you've never thought about it, be thankful today for a cop. You see a cop, thank a cop. Yo, quote that thing. See a cop, think a cop. I don't know. That just felt like it felt right, you know? It just kind of felt right. The second thing. All right. Democracy. Democracy, I'm talking about how America is very unique. Now, it's not necessarily a pure democracy. That can be extremely dangerous. But it is a democratic republic or a federal republic. So look into more about that of the differences in definition, because it's pretty important. But our democracy as a whole, as in a principle, is extremely unique to the United States, and that's why it's been such a success, and it's over the bedrock of capitalism. So capitalism right now is looked up, I don't know why, but let me give you some statistics, because it's not looked upon very well by young millennials or young people nowadays. In 2018, according to a survey conducted, it said this: 44% of millennials say they favor socialism. Can we stop right there? What? Okay, do we know what we're talking about? That means that there's 44% of millennials and I don't know how many more of Gen Z and other generations, they look favorably on socialism. That means they don't look so favorably on capitalism. Look, I'm not an economist. Well, I couldn't even say the word. You know I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist. I don't have to be. I want to encourage you. These topics, I don't care if they're controversial. You don't have to be a labeled expert to think critically, to just think common sense. So I want to unpack a little bit these ideas of socialism and capitalism if you've never thought about it. Because whether you know or not, you're going to come across someone who does favor socialism. If you do, I really encourage you to listen. So again, I'm not an economist, but you don't need that to think critically. First thing is capitalism is a birthplace of ingenuity. That's what happens when you put the creativity in the hands of individuals and private owners. That's why the United States has been extremely, extremely successful. The problem of why I believe there's 44% of millennials that they say they favor socialism is because they're not actually being told what socialism is. Socialism is just being encouraged and promoted as, do you want free college? Wait, okay. You want to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for college? All right, I guess you don't like socialism. Wait. Socialism is free college? That's right. Well, I want free college. I'll go to socialism. Wait, socialism is free healthcare? Socialism is free everything. False. First of all, somebody's got to pay for it. Nothing's free in this world. Not even nothing. Just nothing is free, okay? Something for you to learn. Thing about that is it's empty promises. They're just putting it as in they're promising something that actually can't be attained. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. They're showing you the little tip of the rose without showing you the thorns. Yo, amen. Preach that. Come on, you got to give me something for that. They're trying to show you the rose when in fact it's full of thorns. Let me explain how that looks like. Look at examples. Look at examples where socialism has actually been tried. One example is Venezuela. Venezuela, Cuba, and other countries, there actually have been severe consequences because what happens is, what we're being told is that capitalism is just allowing the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. And that's not right. No one wants to oppress poor people like that. So just do socialism. Everyone shares. That's not extremely accurate because the danger of capitalism, sure, there is a danger of the big companies getting richer and people getting poorer. Right, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people that can abuse any system whatsoever. But the danger of capitalism is actually the nature of socialism. Let me say that again. The danger of capitalism is actually the nature of socialism. So the danger of capitalism making a company big and having a monopoly, guess what? In socialism, that's exactly what happens every single time, but instead it's not a big company, it's a big government. I don't know you, but I don't love the government. I don't want the government in my business at all. I want it to do certain things, and that's about it. But you're just making the government big enough. There's a famous quote that says this: a government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you have. Yo, that's preach. Whoever said that man's preaching. Let's say it again. A government that's big enough to give you everything you want is a government that's big enough to take away everything you have. So socialism is not just free college or free healthcare or anything like that. At the tip of the iceberg, the rose looks real nice, but the moment you try to grab that rose, you're going to be pinched by thorns. It's just the way it works. It's the very nature of it. Venezuela, no one started out as they ended. That's the thing about socialism that people don't think about. It seems great, but just look at the results. That's all you got to do. Look at the results. A lot is like, well, it's going to be different here in America because it's democratic socialism. Y'all got to be kidding me with that bull crap. I'm sorry, I cussed, but democratic socialism, are you kidding me? Okay, just because you put a nice label on it doesn't mean it's actually gonna end up anything differently than Venezuela or Cuba or anything like that. It might take a little bit more time, but at the end of the day, that's where it's going. So that's why I'm extremely thankful for our democracy. I'm extremely thankful for capitalism because a lot of people who complain about capitalism are doing it while using their iPhones and drinking Starbucks. You're welcome. That's capitalism. The third reason is liberty. I want to tell you the first words of our Declaration of Independence. This is how they go. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. in that they are endowed by their creators with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You see, our founders, the founders of our nation believed that these life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness were intrinsic to humanity. They're not given by the government, they're recognized by the government. Extremely different, because a government that can give you can take away. But if a government is just recognizing it, it's not recognizing it, it's not fulfilling its role. It's amazing the liberty that we have in the United States, such as our First Amendment and our freedom of speech. People don't realize this, but you try to bash the government. There's so many people under the current presidency of Trump. There's so many people who hate Trump, and it just happens with a lot of presidents. I think it's a little bit more, a lot more with President Trump right now. Regardless of what you think of him, you actually have the liberty to go tweet your opinion, go make a video of how much you hate Trump, and just rant it all out and not be put in jail. Welcome to America. That's how amazing we are, is that we give that freedom. You try to do the same thing in a Middle Eastern country or somewhere where they don't have that freedom, that constitutional right of freedom of speech. Yeah, I'm an American as you go to jail. Exactly. Like, it just doesn't happen. What happened? It was a horrible thing that happened with a student in North Korea several years ago, where he just took a poster. He took a poster, and here, yeah, okay, we probably put you in jail and we'll release you if it's private property. He died. And it was a long, long process. It was really a tragedy. And it's our liberty here in the United States is something to be grateful for. I don't care if you agree with who's running things. I don't care about that. We can talk about it, but for these purposes of gratitude, it's not important. Gratitude is not saying that all the things that are wrong don't matter. It's just actually highlighting the things that are right and the things that we can be grateful for. And besides being grateful for America, another reason that I'm extremely grateful for, and for someone that I'm extremely grateful for, is for my relationship with God. Because, I mean, since we're talking about gratitude, honestly, none of this could be possible, could be possible if God was not in it. He's just blessed our country so much. It was since the foundation of our country. It's been on Judeo-Christian principles. But my relationship with God is something that I'm extremely grateful for. And the reason I brought it up is because it kind of goes with the 3 points. So the first point was protection. Protection or security. So security, democracy, and liberty. 3 reasons that I'm grateful, and I hope if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ that you should be grateful for. It's because of security, of sovereignty, and of liberty. You see, as a Christian, I can be extremely secure in who I am. One, this is crazy, but Christianity is one of the only ones, or I can say the only one, that actually gives you a security in salvation. That's the first thing. Because it's not something about what you do, it's something that someone already did. Because if it's all based on you, take Islam, for example. It's about good deeds, but ultimately, it's Allah's choice, whether He accepts you or not. Many places in the Quran still say that whether you do good or bad, Allah could change His mind. So good luck with that. Or if it's another one that you don't necessarily believe in an afterlife, it's all up to you. But with God, with this free gift of salvation through Jesus Christ, it's all about what He did. There's this famous quote that it says, a lot of religions are a lot of do's and don'ts. Christianity is the only one that says done. Like, it's done. Jesus already did the sacrifice. I have to receive it. And with my life, I honor Him with everything that I am. I'm extremely grateful for that security. And if you don't know Jesus, you can have that security too. And the second thing is sovereignty, that God's sovereign. You see, it's so amazing that you know that whoever sits in the throne of this whole big picture of life loves you. That's amazing, and will take care of you. I'm extremely grateful for that. Even in the hard times, I can know that He's still on the throne. And the last and final thing is the liberty. A lot of people might say that being a Christian is just a lot of do's and don'ts in religion. Well, that's why I like to say it's not about religion, it's about relationship with Christ. Because when you have a relationship with Christ, it's the most free you will ever be in your life. I promise. It's the other way around. It's just like a tunnel. You can't see it in if you're listening, but it's very, very wide. And then it gets skinny and then gets super wide. So that means that there's only one way to heaven. There's one way to that freedom, and that's through Jesus Christ. But the moment you have a relationship with Him and you walk with Him from now into eternity, that's as most free as you'll ever be. So I want to encourage you with those things to be grateful for. Be grateful for this country, for America, for the security, for our democracy, for our liberty, and I hope you're grateful for your relationship with God. And if you don't have one, it's never too late to start. For the protection, for the security, for the sovereignty, and for the liberty. We'll see you next episode. I hope you enjoyed it.